What's going on, people? So, I want to talk to you guys today about credit, and more specifically, credit cards. Lots of people, they freak out over credit cards because of one little teeny tiny insignificant thing. I haven't forgotten about you guys. I'm still here. And that thing is interest rates. Everybody freaks out, and I get it, right? When you see a number like 15, 20, 18, 25% on your credit cards, that can make you want to freak out. But there are certain things that you need to understand, because really, credit card interest is one of the most misunderstood parts of credit cards. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today in this video on credit. Mainly, we're talking about credit interest. So, tip number one, there's three things I want you guys to understand. And tip number one is that credit interest is different than everything else out there. And I want you guys to think of this. Tip number one is good debt versus bad debt. We hear this all the time. And look, good debt or bad debt is not determined by the tool, right? I'm not necessarily saying that student debt is bad debt and credit card debt is good debt or whatever. It's none of that. It's how the debt is used. And a real basic definition for good debt versus bad debt is the fact that bad debt is debt that you pay for by yourself. Good debt is debt that somebody else pays for you, right? So if I have a mortgage on a property and I have a tenant inside of that property and that tenant's paying my mortgage for me, that's now good debt. I have debt on the property, but it's good debt because somebody else is paying that debt for me. And guess what? You can do the same thing with credit cards. I think this is my heaviest one. It doesn't have the most money on it. You can do the same exact thing with credit cards, as you can make them, turn them into good debt. How do you do that? Well, that's tip number two. You do that by exceeding the minimum payments. If you have somebody else who's making payments on your credit card and those payments exceed minimum payments, you can create an arbitrage on those payments, or you can just exceed them every month and not have to worry about the interest. Now, yes, I know there is interest paid on the balance of the credit card. If you're carrying it over throughout the month, you're carrying that balance over, I understand. But it's a different type of interest. It's based on your APR or your annual percentage rate, and it's based on your average daily balance. I'm not gonna go super far into the details of that in this video, but check out my other video on it when you see it pop up. Yes, you're still gonna pay a little bit of interest on there, but who cares? If somebody else is paying for it and you got that good debt going on, then it doesn't matter at all. And that leads me into tip number three. Tip number three is that APR, or annual percentage rate, on credit cards is different than amortization. APR is not amortization. What do I mean by that? I want you guys to think of two scales. Think of Celsius and Fahrenheit, right? Which number is smaller, 0 or 32? Of course, 0. 32 looks like this big scary number. But when we look at it on two separate scales of Celsius and Fahrenheit, 0 and 32 are actually equal. They're both the freezing point on both of those scales. So you want to understand that the scale for credit cards is very different than amortization. Amortization is on a mortgage. In a 6% mortgage, you're actually paying a lot more interest on that mortgage because of the way that the debt is structured in that system than you would be paying on a credit card. So just remember those three tips, guys. Remember, good debt versus bad debt, tip number one. Tip number two is to exceed the minimum payments. And tip number three is APR is not amortization. You remember those three things and you'll never be scared of your credit cards again. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, turn notifications on, and I want you guys to interact with me. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of videos on credit. Let me know what you wanna find out, what you wanna learn about credit, and I'll make sure that I do a video on that as well. Anything that you like, anything that you don't like, give me some feedback in the comments below. I wanna interact with you guys. I wanna hear from you guys in there, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Very good.
This is fun.